What would you do if you found $100,000 in cash? For Madison Reed, a struggling waitress working double shifts to pay her mother's medical bills, this wasn't a hypothetical question. Do you even know what you stole? The voice was calm, but the warning buried beneath it made her hands tremble. She thought it was just a forgotten bag, just some cash and papers, but inside was something else. A chip that could unlock one of the world's most dangerous secrets. And now they were looking for her. Not for the money, not for the bag, but for what was inside. Something she didn't even understand yet. Had one desperate choice just turned her life into a target? Chicago's skyline glittered against the dusk, a mosaic of steel and ambition. Inside the Platinum Peak, a luxury restaurant perched atop a skyscraper, 19-year-old Madison Reed was a quiet whirlwind. Her black uniform hugged her frame, damp from the grind of a double shift, but her smile held steady, warm, unyielding, a lighthouse in the storm of wealth around her. Chicago's skyline glittered. Against the dusk, a mosaic of steel and ambition. Inside the Platinum Peak, a luxury restaurant perched atop a skyscraper, 19-year-old Madison Reed was a quiet whirlwind. Her black uniform hugged her frame, damp from the grind of a double shift, but her smile held steady, warm, unyielding. A lighthouse in the storm of wealth around her, Madison was no stranger to struggle. 4 years ago, her father's accident had shattered their world, leaving her to hold together a family on the edge. Her mother, Sophia, fought a chronic heart condition that devoured their savings faster than Madison could earn. Her 12-year-old brother Lucas filled notebooks with sci-fi stories, his imagination a luxury Madison couldn't afford to fuel. She worked 16-hour days, her tips a fragile lifeline, each dollar a day's rent, a prescription refill, a meal stretched to feed 3. She didn't complain. Complaints were for those with time to spare. Tonight, the Platinum Peak buzzed with its usual crowd. Tech tycoons closing deals over $800 steaks. Influencers snapping photos of gold-flecked desserts. Madison moved among them, invisible yet essential, her kindness a quiet rebellion against their excess. She cleared plates, refilled glasses, and pocketed tips with a soft, "thank you," her mind already calculating how far each bill would stretch. Then he walked in, man who seemed to pull the room's gravity toward him. Tall, broad-shouldered, his navy suit was razor-sharp, his silver cufflinks catching the chandelier's light. His eyes, slate blue and restless, scanned the space like he was dodging a shadow. He claimed table 9, his movements clipped, and barked an order. "Espresso, ribeye, rare, quick." Madison nodded, her pen scratching the pad, but he barely glanced at her, his fingers tapping an impatient rhythm. He slid a stack of bills across the table, far more than the meals cost, and muttered, "Keep it." Before she could respond, he was gone, the glass door whispering shut behind him. She frowned, her gaze lingering on the bills. They were crisp, almost careless. But something else caught her eye. A sleek black leather bag tucked beneath the chair, half hidden by the tablecloth silk drape. Her breath hitched. She crouched, her fingers brushing the cool leather. It was heavy, its zipper glinting like a warning. She scanned the room, expecting him to storm back, but the diners chattered on, oblivious. Madison's pulse raced. She straightened, clutching the bag to her chest, and bolted for the entrance, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Outside, Chicago's wind whipped her face, the city a blur of honks and neon. The man was gone, swallowed by the night. What would you do? With a stranger's bag, knowing it could hold answers or ruin? Back inside, Madison slipped the bag behind the hostess stand, her mind a tangle of questions. The restaurant's manager, Mr. Harrington, was a vulture in a tailored blazer, his eyes always hunting for mistakes. If she told him about the bag, he'd twist it into an accusation. She'd seen him fire a busboy for misplacing a wine glass. No, she'd figure this out herself. Her shift dragged on. each clink of cutlery a reminder of the bag's presence. She served a table of hedge fund bros, their laughter grating, then a couple whispering over a proposal, their diamond ring a taunt. All the while the bag waited, a shadow in her periphery. When 1 a.m. hit, she grabbed her worn backpack, tucked the bag inside, and stepped into the cold. The L train was nearly empty, its fluorescent lights buzzing like a bad omen. Madison sat alone, the bag on her lap, its weight pressing into her thighs. She traced the zipper with her thumb, her heart thudding. What was she doing? She should have left it at the restaurant, let it be someone else's problem. But curiosity, or desperation, clawed at her, relentless. At home, in the cramped Rogers Park apartment that smelled of coffee and worry, Madison tiptoed past her mother's room. Sophia's breathing was uneven, a pill bottle glinting on the nightstand. Lucas was sprawled on the couch, his notebook open to a sketch of a spaceship soaring through a nebula. Madison locked herself in the bathroom, the only place she could think without the world pressing in. She set the bag on the sink, her hands trembling. This was wrong. She should take it to the police, or back to the Platinum Peak. But her fingers moved before her mind could stop them, unzipping the bag just a fraction. Her breath caught. Cash, bundles of it, neatly banded, each marked with a $100 bill. She zipped it shut, her heart hammering. She tried again, slower, and saw more. Documents, contracts, property deeds, a small velvet box. Her fingers brushed the cash, and she yanked her hand back as if burned. 10 bundles, $100,000, more money than she'd see in a decade. Madison sank to the floor, the bag beside her. That money could change everything. Rent paid for years, Sophia's surgeries covered, Lucas's school fees, new sneakers, a laptop for his stories. She squeezed her eyes shut, picturing her father's face, his crooked smile, his voice steady. Do what's right, Madison, even when it hurts. But right didn't pay for pacemakers or keep the heat on. She shoved the bag under her bed, its shadow a silent scream in the dark. Sleep was a ghost that night. Morning brought no clarity. Madison returned to the Platinum Peak, her eyes scanning every face that crossed the threshold. The man didn't come. She worked her shift on autopilot, her smile a mask, her thoughts circling the bag like vultures. What if he never returned? What if the bag was a test or a trap? Days bled into a week, then 2. Madison's routine was a grind. Double shifts. Hospital visits, Lucas's chatter about alien invasions and laser swords. She paid the rent with her tips, bought generics at the pharmacy, and stretched every meal to feed 3. Through it all, she carried her kindness like a torch, lighting the way for others, even when her own path dimmed. But the bag was a crack in her resolve, whispering possibilities she couldn't ignore. She checked it nightly, half expecting it to vanish, but it stayed there, a taunting reminder of her choice. She didn't touch the money again, but she couldn't forget it either. It was a siren call, promising freedom at a price she wasn't sure she could pay. One afternoon, while grabbing groceries at a corner store, Madison froze. There he was, the man, stepping out of a matte black SUV across the street. His suit was charcoal now, but his hurried stride was unmistakable. Her basket hit the floor, cans rolling, and she ran, ignoring the clerk's shout. She weaved through pedestrians, her heart in her throat, but by the time she reached the spot, he was gone, his SUV vanishing down Michigan Avenue. Madison's eyes caught the license plate, Horizon 88. She scribbled it on her wrist, ink smudging with sweat. Back home, she called her friend Ava, whose cousin Devin was a cop with the CPD. "Ava, I need a favor," Madison said, her voice low. "Can Devin trace a license plate? It's important." Ava's pause was heavy. "Madison, what's up? You sound weird." "I'm fine. I just found something. I need to return it." "Please." 2 days later, Ava called back. "Madison, that SUV belongs to Jackson. Stone. The Jackson Stone. Billionaire. Owns half the city's real estate, funds hospitals and startups. Devin says he's a good guy, but why do you need his address? Madison's throat tightened. A billionaire. That explained the cash, the deeds, the bag's impossible weight. I found something of his, she said, her voice steady. Thanks, Ava. The address was a penthouse in the Gold Coast, a world away from her flickering lights and leaky pipes. Madison resolved to go tomorrow, to end this before the bag's whispers grew louder. But doubt lingered, sharp as a knife. What would you do if the world dangled salvation in front of you, daring you to take it? Madison woke late, her phone dead on the eye. Counter, no time to charge it. She grabbed the bag, her stomach churning, and caught a bus to the Gold Coast. The city faded into tree-lined streets and limestone facades, each one a reminder of how small her world was. Jackson Stone's penthouse was a glass tower piercing the sky, its doorman eyeing her like she'd wandered into the wrong universe. She approached the lobby, the bag clutched like a lifeline. Name and purpose? Madison Reed. I'm here to return something to Mr. Stone. The guard's brow creased. He spoke into an earpiece, his gaze never leaving her. Minutes dragged, the lobby's air-conditioned chill seeping into her bones. She shifted her weight, the bag's zipper digging into her palm. Finally, the guard nodded, and an elevator whisked her to the 60th floor, where a private foyer awaited. But the story wasn't so simple. Unbeknownst to Madison, the bag held more than cash and deeds. Tucked in a hidden pocket was a microchip, a digital vault containing blueprints for a renewable energy project that could revolutionize Stone's empire. It was worth billions, and its loss could derail years of innovation. Jackson hadn't noticed its absence yet, but its discovery by a rival would be catastrophic. Across town, Jackson stormed into the Platinum Peak, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning the dining room like a hawk's. He'd realized the bag was missing days ago, but a crisis in San Francisco had kept him tethered to boardrooms and red-eye flights. Today he'd carved out time to hunt it down. "Where's the girl?" he asked Harrington, his voice low but edged with steel. Harrington blinked, adjusting his cufflinks. "Which girl, sir?" "The waitress. Blonde. Young. She served me 2 weeks ago." "Madison?" "She's off today." "Why?" Jackson's eyes narrowed. "I left a bag here. Black leather. Valuable. It's gone." Harrington's face paled. "Sir, no one reported a bag. I'd know if—" "Find out," Jackson cut in. "Now!" Harrington scurried off, barking orders at the staff. Jackson stood by table 9, his mind replaying that night, his rush to catch a flight, the waitress's quiet efficiency. She'd been the last one near the table. The cash was pocket change to him, a blip in his fortune. But the deeds, and the microchip he hadn't yet checked, were the keys to a legacy he'd spent a decade building. If they were lost, or worse, in the wrong hands. Suspicion coiled in his chest, cold and sharp. He'd built his empire on instinct, but he wasn't blind. People changed when money was involved, even soft-spoken girls with steady smiles. He was about to leave when his phone buzzed. His security team. "Sir, there's a girl at the penthouse. Says she has your bag." Jackson froze, his pulse spiking. "Keep her there. I'm coming." Madison stood in the penthouse foyer, her sneakers absurdly loud on the ebony floor. The space was a shrine to wealth, floor-to-ceiling windows framing Lake Michigan, art that screamed millions, a chandelier dripping crystals like frozen tears. The bag felt like a bomb in her hands, its contents ticking in her mind. Footsteps echoed, and Jackson Stone appeared, his presence filling the room like a storm. His eyes locked onto the bag, then her face, searching for cracks. "You're the waitress!" Madison nodded, holding out the bag, her fingers trembling. "This is yours. You left it at the restaurant. I've been trying to find you." He took it, his touch, deliberate, and unzipped it just enough to confirm its contents. The deeds were there, untouched. The cash, too. His shoulders relaxed, but his gaze stayed sharp. Then he froze, his fingers probing a hidden pocket. The microchip. It wasn't there. His eyes flicked to Madison, suspicion flaring anew. "You looked." "Inside," he said, his voice a blade, her cheeks burned. "I had to. I was trying to find a way to contact you. There was no ID. No, there was something else in here." He cut in, his tone icy. "A chip. Where is it?" Madison's heart sank. "A chip? I didn't see anything like that, I swear. I only saw the cash and papers." Jackson's jaw tightened. The microchip was everything. Blueprints, patents, a future that could power cities. He studied her, her wide eyes, her trembling hands. She seemed honest, but he'd been burned before. "You expect me to believe you found a bag with $100,000 and didn't take anything?" The accusation stung, but Madison held his gaze. "I don't expect you to believe me. I just did what was right. If there was a chip, it's still in there, or it wasn't when I found it." Jackson hesitated, torn between doubt and the flicker of truth in her voice. He rifled through the bag again, his fingers probing every seam. Nothing. His mind raced. Had he misplaced it? Had someone else gotten into the bag before her? He needed answers, but he also saw her. A girl who'd brought back a fortune when she could have vanished with it. "I was wrong to assume," he said finally, his voice softer but still guarded. "But I need that chip." "If you know anything," Madison started. "I don't," Madison said, her voice firm. "But I'll help you find it. If it's at the restaurant, I'll check every inch." He nodded, a grudging respect in his eyes. "What's your name?" "Madison." "Madison," he repeated. "I owe you for this. The bag, it's more than money. It's a future I've been building." She nodded, stepping back. "I should go." "Wait." His voice stopped her. "I want to offer you something." "A job at my company. You're honest, hard-working. I need people like you." Madison's breath caught. A job like that could mean stability, a future. But she shook her head. "Thank you, but my family needs me where I am." Jackson's brow furrowed. Then he reached into the bag, pulling out a folder. "This is yours." He handed her a property deed, a condo in Lincoln Park, fully paid, worth more than she could fathom. Her hands shook as she read it. "No, I can't." "You can," he said, his tone final. "This isn't charity. It's what you've earned." Tears spilled down Madison's cheeks, hot and unstoppable. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Find that chip," Jackson said, a hint of urgency returning, "and keep being you." Madison returned home, the deed a fragile promise in her hands. She told Sophia and Lucas everything, her words tumbling out between sobs and laughter. Sophia's eyes shone with pride, her frail hands squeezing Madison's. Lucas whooped, scribbling. A new story that night, one with Madison as a galactic hero, but the microchip haunted her. She hadn't seen it, but Jackson's doubt lingered, a splinter in her mind. The condo was theirs, a bright space with hardwood floors and no eviction notices. Madison moved them in, her heart full but heavy with change. She kept her job at the Platinum Peak, not out of necessity but because it was hers, a place where her kindness mattered, where she could serve and smile and be Madison. But the restaurant held secrets. Madison began to notice things. Harrington's nervous tics, a line cook named Tyler who lingered too long near the lockers, tension among the staff she hadn't clocked before. She searched Table 9's corner, the storage room, even the dumpster. But the chip was gone. Her gut whispered, it wasn't an accident. One night after closing, Madison caught Tyler slipping something into his jacket near the back exit. She confronted him, her voice low. What was that? He flinched, his grin too slick. Nothing, Madison. Just my keys. She didn't buy it. The next day, she followed him after his shift, her heart pounding. He met a woman in a dive bar, a stranger in a leather coat, her face sharp. Madison hid, her breath shallow, and heard fragments. Chip secure. Stone's project. 7 figures. Her blood ran cold. Tyler had the chip or knew who did. She needed proof, but she also needed Jackson to trust her. She called Ava again, asking Devin to dig into Tyler's connections. Devin was skeptical, but agreed, sensing Madison's urgency. Days later, Devin called back. Madison, Tyler's been talking to a fixer named Rain, a pro tied to corporate theft. If she's got something of Stone's, it's bad news. Madison's resolve hardened. She told Jackson everything, meeting him at a diner far from the restaurant's eyes. He listened, his face unreadable, then nodded. I'll handle it. But you're in deep now, Madison. Watch your back. Jackson's team moved fast. With Devin's help, they tracked Rain to a storage unit in Pilsen, recovering the microchip before it could be sold to a rival energy firm. Tyler was fired, his betrayal a scar on the Platinum Peak. The project was saved, Jackson's vision intact. But Madison's role didn't go unnoticed. Jackson called her to his office, a sleek space overlooking the Loop. You didn't just return a bag, he said, his voice steady. You saved something bigger. I misjudged you, and I'm sorry. Madison smiled faintly. I just did what felt right. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. I'm offering you more than a job now. A scholarship for you or Lucas. Mentorship. A chance to build something of your own. This time Madison didn't refuse outright. I'll think about it, she said, her voice soft but sure. He handed her another folder. Not a deed, but a trust. This is for your mother's care. Top doctors. No limits. Tears welled, but Madison held them back. Why? Because you reminded me. What matters, Jackson said. Not power, not deals, people. 3 years later, Madison stood in her condo's kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows. Lucas was at a writing camp, his stories now published in a youth anthology. Sophia was stronger, her heart steady, her laughter a melody Madison cherished. Madison had started community college, culinary arts, a seed for a food truck she dreamed of launching. The Platinum Peak was still her anchor, but she was building wings. Jackson became a mentor, not a savior. He funded Lucas's camp, ensured Sophia's care, and taught Madison the ropes of entrepreneurship. At a charity gala, he introduced her as a partner in a new venture, a mobile kitchen feeding Chicago's homeless, her vision brought to life with his backing. As they stood on a rooftop, the city sparkling below, Jackson raised a glass. To choices, Madison clinked hers against it. To truth, the question that once haunted her. What would you do if the world tested your heart again? Had an answer, etched in her soul. She'd choose honesty, not because it was noble, but because it was power. It had given her a home, a family, a future. The bag was a memory, its shadow gone, but its lesson was her foundation. Madison's life wasn't flawless. Bills still came, dreams still demanded sweat, but she faced them with a fire no one could dim. She'd answered the world's dare, and in doing so, she'd built a legacy, not of wealth, but of heart. Her food truck, Reed's Hope, rolled out that spring, serving meals and kindness in equal measure. And every night, as she locked up, she smiled, knowing she'd chosen the path that made her whole.
I hope you enjoyed this thrilling journey. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? Let me know in the comments below. Your feedback inspires more epic tales.